Welcome to In Language Hub, the lab where you can feel, think, and speak in English. Have you ever felt like you were living in the movie The Matrix? Have you ever thought about someone and then, out of the blue, they text, email, or call you right after? Have you ever had a dream and then, within days, something strikingly similar happens in real life? If you have ever experienced anything like this, then this lab is for you. Today, we're diving into the adventurous world of synchronicity with Carl Gustav Jung. I'll take you back into my past, and then, if you're patient, I'll share a little secret to help you enhance your energy and attract more meaningful coincidences. So, let's buckle up. As you probably know, Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychotherapist, undoubtedly one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. He didn't just study the mind, he explored dreams, myths, spirituality, and what he called the collective unconscious. What I love most about Jung is that he truly believed that to be happy, we need to understand who we really are and forget about archetypal roles we, first and foremost, as well as society, expects from us. You know, the perfect boss, the perfect co-worker, the perfect son or daughter. For you, it was absolutely okay to be different. For his work, he noticed a pattern. People often experienced unusual coincidences, events that felt deeply connected to their inner world, even when there was no logical explanation. And he first used the term synchronicity in 1930. He defined it as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something more than chance is at play. It's that feeling that the universe is somehow in sync with you, as if your inner life and outer reality were dancing together. But before diving into these meaningful coincidences, I want to share a story from my own life. When I was a child, I had a deep bond with my maternal grandmother, Nonna Giovannina. I can still picture her in her kitchen, cooking, smiling, talking to me. She was gentle, kind, highly intuitive. Today, we would call her an empath. But there was something about her that felt different, at least to me. So when I was with her, she often spoke about her dreams. Okay, so you might think, so far, so good. Yes, but what stood out was that, based on her interpretation, many of her dreams later came true. So she would often talk about her family members, often her ancestors, sending her messages while she was dreaming. And to her, it wasn't strange at all. But to me, I was a kid, I was 6 or 7 at the time. Her stories were absolutely mind-blowing. But I trusted her. To me, it wasn't woo-woo. It was the only kind of science that made sense. Years later, I moved to Milan to study, and life got louder. And I stopped thinking about those stories until she passed away. And then something shifted. I don't know how or when, but I started noticing odd things, strange coincidences, dreams that felt too real, encounters that looked like messages. And honestly, when you try to share these things with others, you never really know how they will react. So yes, maybe it's my own way of feeling her. When these things happen, I can truly sense her presence. Or maybe there's something else, something bigger at play. Anyhow, in Jung's book, Synchronicity and A Causal Connecting Principle, I found a lot of answers. Here's what I wrote. As a psychiatrist and psychotherapist, I have often come up against the phenomena in question and could convince myself how much these inner experiences meant to my patients. In most cases, they were things which people do not talk about for fear of exposing themselves to thoughtless ridicule. I was amazed to see how many people have had experiences of this kind and how carefully the secret was guarded. So, my interest in this problem as a human as well as a scientific foundation. For me, that paragraph emphasizes Jung's empathetic edge. On a personal level, I felt seen and heard. Okay, all right. Let's look at a few types of synchronicities so that we can recognize them when they show up. Warning synchronicities, sudden signs or patterns that seem to steer you away from danger or a wrong choice. Confirmation synchronicities, when life mirrors your thoughts or beliefs. Prophetic synchronicities, when you dream something and it happens hours or even days later. Manifestation synchronicities, when you visualize something and it suddenly appears. And finally, opportunity synchronicities, when the right person, idea, or event shows up exactly when you need it. People interpret synchronicities in a variety of ways. For me, I like to think of them as messages from the universe, reassuring me I'm exactly where I should be. So, listen to this very interesting synchronicity involving Jung and the fish. There are, however, incidents whose chancefulness seems open to doubt. To mention but one example out of many, I noted the following on April 1st, 1949. Today is Friday. We have fish for lunch. Somebody happens to mention the custom of making an April fish of someone. By the way, for my students who might be watching, in English, this would be called an April Fool. The same morning, I made a note of an inscription which read, Est homo totus medius piscis ab imo. In the afternoon, a former patient of mine, whom I had not seen for months, showed me some extremely impressive pictures of fish, which she had painted in the meantime. In the evening, I was shown a piece of embroidery with fish-like sea monsters on it. On the morning of April 2nd, another patient, whom I had not seen for many years, told me about a dream in which she stood on the shore of a lake and saw a large fish that swam straight towards her and landed at her feet. I was at this time engaged in a study of the fish symbol in history. Only one of the people mentioned here knew anything about it. Also on the subject of synchronicity, Jung wrote, I am only too conscious that synchronicity is a highly abstract and irrepresentable quantity. It ascribes to the moving body a certain psychoid property which, like space, time, and causality, forms a criterion of its behavior. We must completely give up the idea of the psyche being somehow connected with the brain and remember instead the meaningful or intelligent behavior of the lower organisms, which are without a brain. Here, we find ourselves much closer to the formal factor which, as I have said, has nothing to do with brain activity. If that is so, then we must ask ourselves whether the relation of soul and body can be considered from this angle. That is to say, whether the coordination of psychic and physical processes in a living organism can be understood as a synchronistic phenomenon rather than as a causal relation. Jung believes synchronicity isn't mere coincidence. It's a clue about how reality works, He said we need to go beyond the idea that the mind only lives in the brain. Even simple creatures with no brain show intelligent behaviors. So maybe mind and matter are connected, not by cause and effect, but by meaning. That's synchronicity, when your inner and outer world move together in perfect sync. So next time, instead of asking what caused this, you might ask, what does this mean? And who knows? Maybe my grandmother, Nonna Giovannina, was indeed right in asking herself about the meaning of her dreams. As promised, I'd like to share with you a simple exercise to start noticing synchronicity in your life. Here's what you have to do. When somebody tells you something meaningful, hold it. Don't rush to share it. Keep it for yourself. You may feel a subtle kind of energy, as if you are holding something sacred. And soon, you might begin to notice the world responding in small and curious ways. Again, next time somebody shares something with you, hold it gently. Only share it with someone else if you truly believe it can help them. Try it. I promise. It works. And who knows, you may begin to notice your very first magical coincidences. I once heard someone say that we are defined by the secrets we keep and by the secrets we share.